In December 2022, 20 armed police stormed Andrew Tate's house in Romania, arrested him and 3 others, rescued 6 captive women, and seized $4 million worth of assets. But according to Tate, he's an innocent victim of vengeful, lying women and his own meteoric rise to fame.
Everybody knows I'm innocent. It's okay, everyone knows I'm innocent.
To the prosecution, he's a rapist and human trafficker who uses lies and manipulation to lure women into producing adult content for his gain. Inspiration, guru, world champion, misogynist, scammer, and the king of toxic masculinity. These are the words used to describe Andrew Tate. But what's the truth? Is he the scariest man on the internet? Has he corrupted a generation? And was he really brought down by Greta Thunberg? Early life. Andrew Tate was born in 1986 to American international chess master Andrew Tate Jr. and English catering assistant Eileen Tate. They lived together in the US until his parents divorced and his mother brought him and his brother Tristan to live in the UK. According to Tate, they were dirt poor and would scavenge leftovers from discarded chicken buckets at KFC. This fact has been heavily disputed, and others claim his world-famous father made more than enough to support them and own a Porsche. Regardless of whether it was due to poverty or a drive to achieve the wealth of his father, money became Tate's sole focus. His first attempt at fame and fortune was through competitive kickboxing, and he was exceptional. By 2009, he'd won his first championship. In 2011, he took his first ISKA world title, and in 2013, he achieved his second world title, making him world champion in 2 weight divisions. But there was a problem. He'd reached the pinnacle of kickboxing success. There was nowhere higher to climb, and he still wasn't rich. The most he ever earned from a fight was $100,000, but after his manager's fee and taxes, he was only taking home $30 to $40 grand per fight. And with only 2 or 3 fights per year, he was nowhere close to the millions he'd aspired to earn. So he went online and started researching wealth accumulation. While poring over content on stocks, investments, and gold, he came across a guy talking about assets. But what assets did Tate have? He grabbed a pen and made a list. His car, apartment, health, and 8 hot girlfriends, ring girls he'd picked up after winning fights. His first thought was to open a strip club and convince them to dance for him. But that idea was swiftly panned when he started researching the overheads. Then something caught his eye. An ad that read, "Hot girls want to talk to you now." He clicked it and discovered the world of webcam sites, where women would sit in front of cameras and talk to guys for money. Instantly, he knew this was it. But could he pull it off? Building a webcam empire. The first step in building his webcam empire was to get the girls, so he called up 5 of his girlfriends and 4 agreed to fly to London. Then, after finding out about each other and hearing Tate's offer, 2 agreed to stay. Together with his brother Tristan, they set the girls up in a house, launched the site, and claimed 50% of everything they made. In a now deleted section of his website, Tate described his role. "My job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, test if she's quality, get her to fall in love with me to where she'd do anything I'd say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together." And he certainly achieved that. The business was a huge success, growing into 4 locations with 75 women working 12 hours a day. Men were paying $4 an hour just to watch, but the real money came through emotional scams. The most successful women were great actresses, telling sob stories about sick pets or relatives that needed more money for private health care. In one case, a man donated 20,000 pounds of his inheritance for a model's fake financial problem. In other cases, guys were selling their TVs or cars or getting themselves into debt to help the women. Tristan once laughed that the business model was a total scam. At its peak, the site was bringing in $600,000 a month, and Tate quickly became a millionaire. As he tells it, his success as an online pimp was down to his supreme competence and the fact that he treated the women well. But behind the scenes, things were much darker. Ruling with a fear. Allegedly, Tate didn't just rely on his natural charm and charisma to keep the women working hard, and the posters he made for the webcam houses corroborate this. The text on them ended with the chilling warning, "If there is ever a problem, if there is ever a glitch, Big Tate won't wait. Straight slap a bit." According to some of his former employees, he would frequently strangle and beat the models.
I came back and I noticed I saw him raping her.
One woman who came forward in 2015 claimed that she was strangled 5 times and that she and the others would wake up with red freckles around their eyes where the blood vessels had burst.
A young woman who says she was the victim of sexual violence and rape. Her attacker, she says, was social media influencer Andrew Tate.
At the same time, another woman came forward to report that according to some of his former employees, he was frequently violent, and in 2015, 2 women filed criminal complaints with Hertfordshire police for various acts of aggression, including Tate forcing himself on one of them. Tate rejects these allegations, claiming that the women are just disgruntled former employees lying to get money from him. Frustratingly for the women, the police investigation was mishandled and struck by massive delays.
They didn't take me in for questioning, they didn't interview me. The other girl that he had raped, she went to the police. It kind of just got left. I would send emails asking them to update, I'd hear nothing back.
Then in 2016, they were shocked to see him live on TV as a contestant in Big Brother. His appearance, however, was brief, as he was given the boot just 6 days later. Tate's story is that he was kicked off because a video surfaced of him beating his then-girlfriend with a belt. However, the clip clearly showed nothing more than consensual roleplay between adults, and his ex came forward to confirm it. But sticking with his story turned him into an innocent victim who'd been unjustly axed. The real reason for his swift exit was that the Hertfordshire police had notified the producers that he had criminal complaints against him, which were yet to be investigated. Of course, that's not something Tate wanted to be publicized for, so he took the belt narrative and pushed it as hard as he could. However, the story, along with his unearthed racist, sexist, and homophobic tweets, didn't play particularly well with the public, and it quickly became clear that the traditional paths to fame were closed to him. So how in 2022 would he become the most Googled person on Earth, ahead of Kim Kardashian and Donald Trump? Hustlers University. Scam? Genius? Or both? As the case against him dragged on and the hashtag #MeToo movement captivated the public, Tate grew increasingly angry and scared of women making accusations against him. He said, "If you're a man living in England or Germany or America or any of the Western world right now, you've decided to live in a country where any woman at any point in the future can destroy your life." So, in an effort to protect himself, he and Tristan moved to Romania in 2017. There, he said certain charges could be avoided more easily, which was, quote, probably 40% of the reason for moving to Central Europe. Of course, he added the caveat, "I'm not an effing rapist, but I like the idea of just being able to do what I want. I like being free." It was around this time that his talent for manipulating social media became evident. He styled himself as a self-help guru for the male youth, offering the secrets to getting money, girls, and escaping the matrix. He soon noticed that the more controversial his statements, the more attention they drew. So he doubled down on sexism and misogyny, adopted a hypermale persona, and made a habit of angrily expressing extreme views, including women bear some responsibility for being sexually assaulted, men can cheat but women can't, women are the property of men, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 26-year-olds because they've been with fewer partners, depression isn't real, and white people suffer from more racism than other races. He'd attack anything deemed leftist, even going so far as to criticize sushi, as there's apparently no power in it when you eat it.
Look at this power. This comes from the food I eat. You're telling me you're gonna get power from sushi? A little piece of floppy fish?
Naturally, this attracted the attention of the alt-right, and he appeared on podcasts with personalities like Alex Jones and Mike Cernovich, met with Trump Jr., and used their influence to boost his own profile. Controversy, though, was just one part of his strategy. Tate's true genius lay in something called Hustlers University. This was a business he founded in 2021 that provided get-rich-quick courses to subscribers. These lessons consisted of pre-recorded fitness, dropshipping, cryptocurrency, and copywriting how-to videos, as well as access to various Discord channels. The idea was that for just $49.99 a month, students would learn everything they needed to generate $10,000. Then they'd enter the next phase, where professors would teach them how to multiply their profits into the hundreds of thousands. Hustlers University became an incredibly successful business in its own right. At its peak, it had 168,000 students and was generating $8 million per month. But the true beauty of the plan was how he used his own paying students to attract more, in a similar way to a multi-level marketing or pyramid scheme. For example, the money-making scheme he pushed most of his students into was getting views on TikTok with viral clips, but they weren't taught to make their own. Instead, they were to trawl through his old interviews and podcasts, pick out the best clips that would attract a mix of 60 to 70% fans and 40 to 30% haters, and repost them online. He told them, "You want arguments, you want war, because this increases the chances of the clips going viral." With this method, he claimed one 16-year-old Hustler's student was making $45,000 per month. That was all his students needed to hear, and thousands set up Tate accounts and started posting. Soon, Tate videos had taken over social media, and thanks to the algorithm, no teenage boy could open TikTok without being bombarded by them. And a 2023 survey found that 8 out of 10 British boys had consumed his content. Tate was instantly propelled to global fame, with 4.7 million followers on Instagram and 13 billion views on TikTok. It was remarkable. He'd figured out a way to get people to pay him to make himself famous. However, he wasn't just generating fans, but enemies too. Radicalizing a generation? Thanks to his pick the most controversial clips instruction, his students flooded social media with videos of him saying things like he keeps a machete by his bed, and if a woman ever accused him of cheating, it's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and grip her up by the neck. Unsurprisingly, this broke more than a few community guidelines, and he earned himself permanent bans from Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for content that attacks, threatens, incites violence against, or otherwise dehumanizes an individual or a group. But by this time, there were so many Hustler accounts in action that Tate content had become an infestation impossible to eradicate. Parent and teacher groups panicked, with many claiming that he was influencing boys to become misogynistic, homophobic, and aggressive. Schools wrote home urging parents to keep their sons away from Tate channels, and one group of teachers even published a guide on dealing with it. What many overlooked, though, was the bigger picture. Even with his army of followers reposting his content, the videos wouldn't have gone viral if kids had just scrolled past. But they weren't scrolling, they were watching. Partly because they thought his hyper-masculine persona was hilarious, but also because he was fighting back against a society that had been vilifying toxic white men. Unfortunately, #MeToo had many boys feeling that they were the enemy who had to sit down, shut up, and give someone else a turn at success. But they'd never had a turn because they were just kids. Hearing an adult tell them that it was okay for them to pursue power, wealth, and multiple girlfriends was refreshing and tapped into their anger. Tate was like a muscle-bound, attractive, kickboxing version of Jordan Peterson, and teens couldn't get enough. But would their adulation last?
The social media bans were a nuisance to Tate, but he got around it by moving to new platforms like Greta and Rumble. His problems really started when the American financial services company Stripe deemed him too problematic to work with, and in August 2022, they pulled out of processing subscriptions for Hustlers University, which shut it down. Not to be beaten, Tate later relaunched the university on an independent platform, and he founded the War Room, a global networking group that will build vital connections with rich and powerful men. The sign-up fee is around $5,000, and other fees apply for ongoing subscriptions and events. Things were looking up for Tate until November 2022, when Elon Musk allowed him back on Twitter. He took the opportunity to troll climate activist Greta Thunberg, tweeting her, "Please provide your email address so I can send a complete list of my car collection and their respective enormous emissions," to which she famously replied, "Yes, please do enlighten me. Email me at smalldickenergy@getalife.com," which she still stands as the 4th most liked tweet in history. Obviously triggered, Tate responded with a ranty video about how unbothered he was by her joke. In it, he summoned someone to bring him pizza and sat with the boxes that clearly came from a local chain. This was an attempt to irritate Greta, as he bragged that the boxes wouldn't be recycled. The very next day, 20 armed police raided his house in Romania. They detained him, his brother, and 2 women on suspicion of human trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group. In the house, they also found 6 women authorities deemed to be victims, held against their will, and forced to perform for the webcams. The arrests were triggered by the statements of 2 women. Firstly, a Moldovan woman Tate met on Instagram. He'd convinced her to join him in Romania so he could keep an eye on her, and told her he was serious about marriage. She initially refused, as she was worried about his work online. But according to prosecutors, he told her not to worry and that it was all a front to launder money. When she arrived at his house, though, she found it full of webcam models and Tate was nowhere to be seen. Within a few days, she was pressured to start making videos. "Just do it. It's simple," Tate messaged. Allegedly, he also used physical violence and psychological and verbal pressure to force the woman to have sex with him. She'd fallen for what authorities call a lover boy scam, where men pretend to have fallen in love with the victim to trick them into something, in this case, performing for the webcams. The other accusation came from an American woman Tristan had allegedly lured to the house using the same method. She said she was kept under strict surveillance and forbidden from leaving. And when she asked the armed guard to be let out of the house, they pretended they couldn't understand English. She was too scared to confront Tristan, but got up the nerve to contact her ex-boyfriend. He called her mother, who contacted the U.S. Embassy in Bucharest. At this point, Romanian authorities were forced to take action and raid the house. As the news broke of their arrest, social media erupted, praising Greta and Jerry's Pizza for alerting the police that he was back in Romania and available to arrest. Unfortunately, as it's a great story, it has been denied by the Romanian authorities, who pointed out that Tate had directly tweeted about his return to Romania a few days before the ranty video. Regardless, Greta still took the opportunity to reply. This is what happens when you don't recycle your pizza boxes. Even George Takei of Star Trek fame took the opportunity to pile on. So Elon Musk let Andrew Tate back on Twitter, and Tate promptly used it to reveal his whereabouts to authorities in Romania, who then arrested him. All because Greta Thunberg owned him so hard his little wee-wee fell off. Do I have that right? Please say I have that right. Following the arrest, authorities seized 29 assets from the Tates, including 15 cars, 10 properties, watches, and cash. All in, the haul is said to be worth almost $4 million. The four accused spent 3 months in a Romanian jail. They all maintain that they are innocent victims of lies and slander. 2 of the women who were named as captives have since come forward in Tate's defense. They claim they were there of their own free will and were only found locked in a room because they locked it themselves during the raid out of fear of the police. However, wiretapped conversations from the jail show he instructed them to make the statements, and once they did, he asked for more, saying, "Keep going, good job," over and over again, different ones. "We need the girls to cry, to be frustrated, angry." Initially, Tate's legions of teenage fans were vocal in their support, but as the months have passed and the facade has been peeled back, his influence has waned. His rags to riches tale has turned out to be more like riches to riches. He never became a trillionaire as he once claimed. His passions for elevating men has been undermined by his willingness to scam them, and the friends who've been his most vocal supporters have been outed as his employees. Whether the charges will stick remains to be seen, as does his impact on society. Has he turned a generation of boys into aggressive misogynists? Or has he simply highlighted that we've got a problem with the current narrative surrounding young men? Something we now have the opportunity to change.